Welcome, everybody, to the Patty G Show. I am your host, Patty G, here with Jennifer and Nelly from Basic Fitness. We're going to talk health. We're going to talk fitness. We're going to talk starting a brand in the middle of COVID and thriving. But before we do that, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Alvarez Construction. Thank them so very much for sponsoring the Patty G Show. And without further ado, Jennifer and Nelly, welcome.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for having us on the Patty G Show. It's quite a very popular show that we've been researching and finding it's more and more popular than we knew.
So we're happy to be here.
Very honored.
Well, good. I didn't know it was so popular. That makes me happy.
Well, in her generation, everyone knows who
Everyone
Patty
knows
G
who Patty
is.
G is.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
So
I'll
just
take
pop
it.
your collar a little on that
That's
one.
it.
Like,
It's buttoned down, but we'll pop it internally. But so what is Basic Fitness for those that are listening or watching?
So Basic Fitness, well, it's really the Basic brand. It's a lifestyle and wellness brand. So we started this. We focus a lot on basic fitness, but it's kind of becoming the healthiest and happiest person you can be. So we cover health, fitness, nutrition, positive mindset, all of that stuff. We felt like there was a need in Baton Rouge for just more well-rounded, healthy living and brands. So we started Basic in the middle of COVID, and it's been great.
yeah. And we also realized that we both had a combined passion for getting people healthier, happier, and active. And like in our past, we both worked in race production, which was a lot of fun. And we learned so many things in that environment. But we were interested in more things outside of running. But Nelly from being a coach and just being a nutrition coach, and me as being a mom and watching kids grow up and play sports and some of those dynamics, like we had a lot of interesting conversations about like outside of what we used to do, like a very specific structure, like what are some other things we could do. And that conversation also grew out of when COVID hit, the company we were working with, we couldn't do our jobs anymore. Like we couldn't produce races anymore. And that was endlessly frustrating. So it was like, okay, well, what else can we do? Like, this is what we know. This is what we love. Like, and brainstorming ideas and concepts. And we started, I think our first project was we put on a fitness camp for kids.
Yeah.
Which kids loved it so much they came back like every week, and their parents
it was
loved
awesome.
it.
I mean, what was the timeline for when y'all got started and when that first camp was launched?
We started making T-shirts as just like a fun side project in April because both of us are like, okay, now we have nothing to do. I mean, me personally, when COVID hit and they were like, okay, no work for 2 weeks. I was like, 2 weeks? What am I supposed to do for 2 weeks?
And I mean, going from working like 70 hours a week to like hard stop. Oh God.
Yeah. So she's super into like design and I'm pretty good at organizations. We're like, let's sell some really cool T-shirts. And it started as T-shirts and like fun clothes. And that was kind of in April. And we started, so we really came up with probably in April of last year, like, encouraging and inspiring healthy and active lives. Yeah. And that's kind of where that little phrase kind of took off. And really, I mean, it was kind of
it's just kind of a snowball effect where like something happened and then you start putting these pieces together. And like the fitness camps idea kind of came from watching my kids play baseball and realizing that there's always kids who are super athletic and good at things. And there are kids who are in the middle and there are kids who always kind of struggle a little bit. And knowing that like the benefits of keeping kids in sports from a social standpoint, from a physical standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, it improves the trajectory of their lives. And so we had a lot of conversations about like, how can we get kids into sports and keep kids into sports? Because as they get older, the ones who maybe aren't performing somehow start to get coached out of sports, which I don't think is fair or appropriate. And so we realized that we really can't help baseball players because like we're not baseball players. But if we can get these kids to be better athletes, then they would automatically be better baseball players.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where the idea of the first fitness camp came from. And we had, several baseball players come and participate in it.
Yeah, it was super fun.
And it was only 4 days. So it wasn't like they were making huge strides, but what they were doing is learning to have confidence in themselves again. We were giving them small attainable goals and they were beating those goals every day and they were feeling good about themselves and they were getting a lot of positive reinforcement. And then when they went to play baseball that weekend, they were different kids than they were 5 days ago. And that was huge for us. And so it was like, there's definitely a need for this because getting people healthier, it does actually make you happier overall, just because you're feeling better, you're looking better, your confidence is up, and that extends to every element of your life. And so from there, we just start looking at other things that we could do that sort of fit under that sort of brand motto
like an umbrella
of healthy equals happy.
Healthy. We thought about making the company we were with kind of pivot to health and wellness brand. And it was kind of like, well, this doesn't exist. So why don't we start it? Let's make it. And the fitness camps are kind of where our, start of the whole thing. And on the side in the past, before we had been training some athletes, like adult athletes, and we kind of just shifted all of that under the
basic brand.
The basic brand,
and so now we train
awesome.
like kids who are middle school age. We've done a lot of teamwork with like training entire teams before their seasons start. We work with a lot of adult athletes who are endurance athletes, marathoners, triathletes, things like that. And we work with nutrition coaches.
Yeah.
So people who want nutrition as athletes and people who just know that they're not ready for physical activity yet and they need to clean up their diet first. So working with people on things like that and trying to help people figure out a sustainable lifestyle. And it's not all in. It's not like, let's clean out your pantry and you can only eat bananas and like, nuts.
You don't walk in and say, all right, let's open the pantry and just clean out everything.
No, and we do that. We do actually do that. But we're trying to figure out the easiest way to help people make small changes in their life that over time become a lifestyle change, knowing that you can't do it all at once. And I think as you get older, you see people who they think it's over. Like, well, I'll never get healthy. I'm whatever age, or I'm not an athlete. I can never be an athlete. And it's figuring out how to talk to each person because everyone's story is different. Everyone's goals are different, and giving them small little pieces that they can do and feel good about themselves. And then, okay, let's try something else. What else do we want to accomplish?
Right.
So we're kind of approaching it both from the youth side and the adult side, and hoping to sort of maximize just getting people active, getting them healthy, getting them happy, and doing it with whole families. Because if your kids are working out and eating healthy as adults, you're like, well, I should probably be doing that myself.
I should at least be doing what I can to encourage it.
And we get to know each person that we work with because we really focus on like the bio-individuality concept of like not everyone's the same and not everything works for the same person. So it's been as fun as it is to like help people and lead them to the healthier lifestyles, we really make relationships with our clients. And it's been awesome. Like she went and watched one of our little kids that we trained baseball game last Sunday or yesterday. And it's just, we have this like hands-on relationship, which is really, really fun and exciting.
Yeah.
So it's more of not necessarily come bring your kid to Basic Fitness and we're going to teach them how to hit the ball better or how to get their technique down. But when they leave, they're going to be a better athlete because of the mindset we teach them.
Yeah. So like the whole idea is that most coaches they're so good at what we call like skills and drills. Like, how to get people to do whatever sport it is that you are in charge of and what you're coaching. And at a younger age, if your kid is not maybe good at whatever sport, they can keep practicing the sport. But if they got stronger, if they got a little bit faster, if they ate a little bit healthier, they're automatically going to be able to do all those skills and drills way better when they show up for the first day of practice. And so from the Basic Fitness camp, we started thinking about like training teams as a whole. Like, what would that look like so that before the season starts, instead of having the coach have that pressure of how do I get my kids in better shape so we're a better soccer team, because it really comes in handy in all sports, but definitely soccer. We worked with a soccer team, a middle school soccer team. We trained them for 4 weeks. We did it 2 days a week with them, and we made them run in the heat of the summer. We made them run hills. We made them do sprints. I mean, we pushed them, and they were phenomenal when soccer started. And it was good because soccer ended up lasting. Because of COVID, it kept getting pushed back. Their endurance.
Another 4 weeks.
We just kept training and training. But a lot of it has been a lot of like case studies and like proving the concept that like this stuff does work and the kids feel better about themselves. So they perform better at practice. And like the coach has more time to focus on the game and what practice needs to be and less time trying to get them to run, to do sprints, to do sit-ups, to do push-ups, because they're already ready. They're ready to grab the ball or whatever sport they're playing and hit the floor. Yeah. And we've worked with a high school girl who just came to us and said she wanted to go to college playing volleyball. And she knew kind of what those metrics she needed to hit were. And we met with her. We met with her parents. We looked at her schedule. And she's there. Like, she's being recruited by colleges.
That's
she's
awesome.
meeting all of her metrics. She's exceeding her metrics. She's 5'4" and is now performing as a middle blocker. Because her vertical leap is so high.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And she's
Shout out Sarah. You're awesome.
But she's put in the work. And like we put in, we gave her a lot of very hard workouts and kind of told her like, you get in what you put out. Like, you can fluff off on this and it's not going to work, or you give it everything you got and you're going to be surprised when the season starts. So we happened to see her the first day that high school practice started. We were like, how did it go? And she was like, I'm blown away by like the difference and just my physical capabilities at playing volleyball. Yeah. And we were like, can we get a quote on that?
Can we do a testimonial please, real quick?
Get your glamour shot ready.
Yeah. So that's, from a school's perspective or from a coach's perspective, it's like something like this is needed for everyone that doesn't have the ability as a school to have kids come back in the summer and train and prep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're at LSU or a big name school, they're going to automatically do that. So
Yes.
it's like,
Yes.
let's get you when you're younger doing all of this.
And
Yes.
condition is, it's just part of the program.
Right.
It's just how you
Yeah.
do sports.
Yeah.
And I think it's, the more we've looked at it, expecting kids' bodies to do these things without prepping their muscles for it and their
Mm-hmm.
mental capacities for it, and even their bodies. So we're also trying to teach them, hey, like, you're playing this baseball tournament all weekend. Like, you can't eat fried chicken and Doritos, right? Because your body's an engine and you're just putting
Yeah.
garbage in and you're going to get garbage out. And it's
Yeah.
trying to teach them that we're asking our bodies to do these things without always respecting the work that has to go in to build those foundations.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of what we're trying to teach people to do at all levels, which has been a lot
and
of
just
fun.
teaching them, the why behind everything they're doing. So like, okay, today we're really working on our obliques. But like, why are we working on our obliques? And it's like, okay, well, if your obliques are strong, you have a more powerful swing. So it's just getting kids to understand that. And like, coaches are fantastic and great, but coaches have a lot going on. So us having this
Yeah.
being able to like explain what we're doing to the kids and like have a reason behind each exercise and each workout. It's been cool. It's like a little light bulb goes off in their head, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And it's
Yeah.
like running hills makes you faster, and they're like, "Oh,"
because they
okay.
hate it. I mean, there's just a lot of complaining. Like, we don't
Yeah.
run these hills. And so what we did with
How
the
is
soccer team.
how are these hills going to help us at all?
Yeah,
Yeah. And
Like, there's no hills on a soccer field.
thank God. And what we've done is like we test them before, the outset of training, based off of like age appropriate, sports specific, and then retest them at the end of training so that they can see, look at what you did, like look at your accomplishments. Like we just worked with a bunch of baseball kids and we sent them all graphics for like, here's where you were, here's where you are, here's your percentage of improvement in all these categories. And they were like, oh. And I was like, see, like you are capable of so much more, but you just got to, realize how and when and where to put in the work to take the skills that you already have and amplify those.
Yeah. I mean, and so I swam in high school, and that was it was proven whenever I would go to summer league as opposed to going year round.
Yeah.
That when if you only swam once a year and once a season, and it was only in that time you had to build your conditioning, build your strength.
And you don't have enough time. Season's
have
over.
enough-
By
right,
the
it's
time
over. By
you're
the time you get
clicking,
good.
you got one meet left.
But when you come from year long or year round swimming and you
Yeah.
get to summer league, it's really night and day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for y'all, it's nice from a business standpoint. The parents like, oh, my kid is outperforming his colleagues whenever they don't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what's really cool is that what we do is kind of, we're keeping them in shape all year, but they can play other sports. It's not like we're saying you can only do one thing. It's we're keeping you conditioned and in shape so that you can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
You're building their bodies and their
Yes.
minds. You're not honing in
On
a
just
certain pass, a certain drill.
Yeah.
We're building better athletes, and an
Right.
athlete is like a cumbersome word. It covers a bunch of different areas. We're not building better swimmers. We're not building better football players. We're building
Yeah.
better athletes.
Well, and like our sort of slogan for that side of the business is like, we build better athletes so you can build better teams.
Wow. That's
So
marketing.
Well, I mean,
Communications.
I have a background in that. I was just saying. But we've seen that it works. And I think it's also just the amount of self-confidence it gives kids. It's so powerful because, like, if you look at all the people, I mean, you played sports. I know I did. It's like how many times that you just lost someone over summer break, they didn't come back to the sport, or they quit, or they whatever, or they quit dance or cheer or whatever was their activity. And it's like everyone has a story when they just stop being active. And like, what if that wasn't a story anymore? What if people didn't stop or you got tired of one thing, but you're in good shape, so you just find something else to do, and that you stay active, and like your self-confidence goes so far in helping you make smart decisions in life. And if we can help kids get that in middle school and in high school and keep that, it's going to improve the trajectory of their life over the course of time.
And the
not
hardest
just in a
part
window.
about being in shape is getting in shape. So once you're there and we can keep you there, it's just, you start having fun and you start building muscles you didn't know you had, and you get stronger in certain areas. It's the phase when we just stop and we lose all of that, because you can lose it so fast and it takes forever to build back up. But if we can just stay there.
And then you
we
realize
have-
there's another sport you can play because you're in shape. So the soccer team needs a couple players. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
That's right. It opens doors, and like you said, it builds that self-esteem. It builds that desire to stay fit, stay active, which then transposes later on in life to this whole active lifestyle. And at the end of the day, 90 years, you're thanking yourself that you stayed active.
And your social circle becomes people who do the same things as you, so that you're not at home playing video games, you're not eating Doritos on the couch, like you're out being active, playing sports, and you're making memories, right? And really good memories, hopefully.
Yeah,
that,
and like-
that keep you in that lane.
I got into it, this active lifestyle in high school, and my eyes started because I heard, it helps anxiety. And it's like, oh, well, maybe I'll just try to go run. And, it does. And I think that the mental component that sports and being active helps with kids, especially nowadays with all the social media and things that we have going on, I think being able to get outside and just, whether it's any sport that you want it to be, just being outside with your friends and just moving. I think as much as it is fun and helps physically, it helps a lot mentally.
Oh, yeah.
And I think oftentimes people forget about that or overlook that component of it because you think, oh, well, my kid's not that good. Or the kid's like, well, I'm not good at this sport. I don't want to play it anymore. But without thinking all the other benefits that you're getting and just like the teamwork aspect of it. I mean, when you play sports, you have to learn how to handle adversity. You have to learn how to win and lose with grace. You have to learn how to handle pressure. And there's so many things that like, I think as adults, I look back, I know, and see like, wow, I learned that from playing sports. And I didn't know I was learning that. I was just having fun. And like my older son 2 years ago, he started pitching and I was not stoked about that. I was like, I don't want my kid doing that. That's a lot of pressure. And then, like, what if he's not good at it and all this stuff? And then I realized that the lessons that he had to learn in order to be able to pitch, just like being able to calm yourself down, control a moment, handle your emotions. So like you strike one kid out, but there's another one coming up, or you walk that kid, but you got to keep, you keep pitching. So you have to be able to deal with your emotions and high highs and low lows. You have to be able to keep a balance. And then I was like, oh, he can pitch whenever, please. More of that.
Yeah, pitch him, make him pitch all the time.
Yeah, more of those life lessons. And he doesn't know he's learning that, but he will when he gets older. He'll understand that, hopefully.
Yeah, and hope he'd be in tense moments, tense situations, be like, nope, just keep a calm head, level.
Yeah, and like now we have like a hand signal. If he gets too up or down, we're just like flat, like get it back to flat. But it's teaching him things that I don't think we could teach him outside of those, putting him in those experiences, which again, we didn't see. I don't remember thinking that when I played sports, but as a parent, you look back and you see it in a very different perspective.
Yeah, and so Basic, the brand itself was started in times that people were scared they were going to go out of business. There was no, they weren't looking to start something brand new or, start a new business. It was like, hey, let's just keep going and maybe we'll stay afloat.
Yeah, let's keep swimming. Yeah.
But then y'all said, well, no, it's not going away. It's not a 1 month deal. This is going to be around for a while. So we need to pivot.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny actually. Like, we both, she lives in St. Francisville. I'm here. And we both were talking through texting back and forth and talking on the phone. And we both kind of started with our neighborhoods, just doing these outdoor fitness classes. And 3 of my friends that were in it are behind us. And we met every day at 4:00 in this park and we worked out. And they were like, you could kind of do this for a living. And I was like, yeah. And then we kind of started,
when I was teaching yoga classes to my neighborhood, who wants to drink wine and do yoga?
Yeah, and it actually
sounds like a great yoga class.
It was a great yoga class.
I mean, we had great times too. We would get superior margaritas, and it was funny. We'd have the friends that showed up every day, and then the ones that were like, "Oh, we're having wine today. Okay, I'm coming to work out."
Come for that.
Yeah. I'm bringing my cup.
Yeah, but we had fun, and it was so we started really making workouts and just doing different things and trying to embrace this time, the downtime that we had. Yeah. And we both came from a very hectic work schedule. So,
yes.
And it was automatic. It just all stopped. And it was oh man.
We couldn't adjust to that. So then at the time it was let's just try to inspire people. So it started with in April, we did the power of positivity.
Yes.
So we just started let's come up with things to post or something positive. Because everyone was losing their mind and no one knew what was going to happen. And there was just so much stress in the world. And it was okay, well, maybe we could be a voice of positiveness in people's lives and encourage them. So I think we did motivational posts once a week. We did a workout once or twice a week.
Yeah.
So we just shared different things to try to keep, and then it was well, we really like doing this.
Yeah.
We're positive, happy people. We love encouraging and inspiring people. We both love coaching people.
Yes.
And it was okay, well, let's just hop on this road and just see where it takes us, and along the way it curves and then you just make decisions about what's next and what else can we do and what else, what should we be doing and what's the next step.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of great people pitch in and give us great advice along the way and let us sort of use their teams as some case studies. We worked with the Westville high school softball team. We just went, she's a young coach, and we went and approached her and we said, look, we want a case study. We want a high school team. What do you think? And she was like, yep, can we start tomorrow? And we were well, we were thinking Monday, but okay. And it was great. We've sent them a lot of workouts. They did them as a team because they couldn't use the workout. They couldn't use the gym
Weight
at
room.
the high school or whatever.
COVID.
And she said, I mean, she gave us a great testimonial. It was like, this is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to the
Been
team.
a game changer. Yeah.
Because they're so much more athletic. They're faster. They can run faster. They can hit hard. They can throw better. And they believe in themselves more. And she's like, I can see a difference. And they can all see a difference.
Yeah, and like it was kind of fun, like we're best friends too. So it's like we're best friends, and we started this. And like I have a background in nutrition and in high school coaching. I coached cross country for years, and she has a background in communications and marketing, and just being a sports mom and being an athlete herself. And it was like all of these things kind of worked together to make this perfect.
Yeah, where we just had a lot of
Where
skills.
we had
And
these, so it's been cool because we've been able to manage most of it just between the two of us. I mean, we have an intern right now. Where we're growing, but for the most part, for the past few months, we've just been balancing between our four hands, and
it's been fun. Like we're working on a really big project, and someone asked us the other day, well, like, how much money have y'all sunk into that yet? And I was like, well, up until today, I was like, none, because like we have the skill sets that we were able to do all the things that we needed to do to get us to where we are. Knowing that in the next step we're going to have to invest in ourselves, but like up until this point, it was like, well, who did that? Well, she did. Well, who did that? I did. Well, who did that? We did. And it was like we have a lot of complementary skills, and we were also a good checks and balances for each other. Like, what do you think? Well, that's great. What is this? Okay, and because we've been working together for years, so that dynamic already existed, and working in some stressful situations, which. If we can get through that, we can get through.
You can get through anything.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, and that's with starting a business. It's great to not have too similar of minds, too similar of skill sets.
Right.
For going and starting something where you don't have a lot of cash. If you got a lot of cash, you can hire everybody to fill the gaps.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a lot of cash, which COVID has proven that people can lose cash fast.
Yes.
And not get it back.
Yes.
No, we've had
Not get it back real fast.
We've had to, I am now very YouTube trained in QuickBooks. It's like different things that we've had to learn.
Yes. And when we need help, we ask for it, but we've learning to learn again, which is helpful. And we're also come from different generations. I mean, we may look the same age, but I'm a little bit older than Nelly, just a little.
She's like my older sister
by a lot. And I think so that brings those are also two different generational mindsets, but also the phases of life that you're in. And so I think that has also helped, because I always bring the mom perspective and the busy, crazy life perspective, and she brings the in your 20s.
Cool, hip, young person perspective.
That's right. Let's do wine. Let's do wine yoga.
She's like, nobody says that anymore. I was like, wait, what? She's like, don't say that out loud. I'm like, okay, my bad.
I'd be like,
also,
no one
the
says
middle
it.
part,
T-shirt.
I had to lose my side part recently. It was like, you can't part.
Oh yeah, I've been doing the middle part for years. So
I've heard the middle part's where it's heading.
I mean, I've always been a fan, but
I started that trend. They're laughing at me. I did it.
But it's nice because we do have complementary skill sets, and we do come from sort of different backgrounds, but that are similar enough
kind of in
that
the same
works.
industry. They all kind of went together. I mean, it worked.
And when we were working with this baseball team and softball teams, Nelly knows a lot about planning workouts and sets and how many you should do. And I played softball and my kids play baseball, so I know enough about the sport that it was let's do this. Can we make a drill out of this? And it was us coming together and spazzing out a little and doing the drills ourselves and being like, yeah, it's not going to work. Let's try another one. And her saying, do this. And I'm like, okay, a kid this age is not going to understand that. Let's do it like this.
Yeah.
And then being able to put it in the context of the sport and because they were like, why are we doing this? And then when you explain it to them, they're like, oh, can we time ourselves and see how fast we can go? We're like, yes, you can. Yeah. All day, kids.
Kids become very competitive.
Yes.
Especially in a group setting.
Yes. And if there's a clock
I can
involved,
go faster. No, I can
Her
go faster.
kids are
they're not competitive at all.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
One of our kids came and helped us at summer camp, and I was like, you got to simmer down. Simmer down. You're helping us. You're not competing against a 7-year-old. Simmer down.
He's going to win.
Yeah. This is not a race. It's always a race.
It's kind of awesome.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah. So what is, Nelly, what is your background?
Nutrition. So
Okay.
nutrition is my background. And then I also, I coached cross country. I ran competitively in high school. Went back, started coaching when I was in college. So I coached cross country for 6 years. I'm actually going to be coaching cross country again this year. This past year was kind of COVID year. So
There was no
upcoming,
It was a blip.
It was a blip.
Asterisk.
This upcoming season, I'll be coaching. But so my background comes from nutrition and coaching, and then all of the things that we did with event production.
Which Nelly was our info ad person, and the thing that you
Info
learn
ad.
about that is how important concise to the point, easy to understand communication is, which is very helpful when you're dealing with parents and kids. You know, I mean, we learned like hard lessons, but like how to drill down information to like
some of the things that we've gotten. It also makes, you know, I drank a lot during those years.
There's some rough questions.
No, it's fun. But yeah, so I know how to handle the customer service side of
which
things,
we realized
in that
huge.
is
so important.
It's been huge.
That's something that we've carried over with us, which is nice.
Yeah. So I have a degree in nutrition, and that's kind of as much I love the basic fitness stuff. Fitness, I mean, we became really best friends. We trained for Ironman and marathons together.
Because
so
I didn't think it was safe for her to train for an Ironman by herself.
Yeah,
and I didn't know her that well. And I was like, you're probably going to get killed on the road, so I'll do it with you.
I showed up to work one day. I was like, I'm doing Ironman Texas. She was like, with who? And I was like, myself. And she was like, no, you're not. And I was like, yeah, okay.
So then we trained for a lot of Ironman together, and you spend a lot of time together on a bicycle for hours.
So
when you have to ride 100 plus miles, you spend a lot of time together.
Oh my God.
Eat a lot of potato chips. That's not the way to do it, though, but that's what I did.
Yeah, so we come from that. I come from that background, just, you know, athletics, and I just have a love for, you know, understanding the body and the muscles and like the food that you put in it, which equals fuel and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of been my big pet for this it's basic nutrition. And so we have a project that we're working on right now that's kind of going to integrate teaching kids, you know, how to be fit and how to be active and how to use their muscles appropriately and how to recover. But it's also going to teach them like what to fuel your body with and like how that's so important, because kids are putting in their body what, you know, their parents are telling them to put in. And granted, you know, parents are just trying to survive. But if their kids are like, hey, mom and dad, like, I want to eat broccoli, like the likeliness of their parents buying broccoli goes way up, because it's like, oh, my kid wants to eat broccoli, I should probably start eating broccoli, you know? So we're trying to get that. We're trying to instill that into kids at a young age and just, you know, help them understand.
Like why Cheetos aren't a food group.
Yeah.
You know, the basics of that.
Yeah. We during our fitness camp, like while she was, so we kind of split up for 30 minutes each day, and she would do yoga with them and I would teach them nutrition. And I was like, you shouldn't eat things that you don't know how they started. And they were like, what? I was like, what started a Cheeto? And they were all like,
goodness. That's it. Goodness in a bag. Like, what's the question?
It's like flakes and then glue.
Cheese.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then they were like, whoa. And one of them was like, what started gummy bears? And I was like, you do not want to know.
No. But I think it's just trying to help kids figure out just to make better choices, and not to say you only ever have to eat healthy food, but if you explain to them like how your body uses food in a very elementary way, then you realize like, oh, maybe all those Skittles aren't so good for me. You know?
Like in relating it to what they enjoy. Because, you know, you can teach them stuff in health class. It's like, don't eat this, don't do that. But when you apply it to, you know, oh, this kid is a swimmer. Like when you apply it to like swimming, it's like, oh, I understand, you know? And they have to take a deeper interest into it. So that I'm really excited. We have a big project coming up, and I'm really excited to see just how kids' lives and perspectives change just by using that, and how it helps coaches, you know, with nutrition stuff.
Because like what we've also realized is that coaches know that their athletes need more nutritional information, but like on top of everything else, it's like, how do you get that? Even if that's not something that you know a lot about, then how do you instill that in you? And like, what is carb loading? Because there was like, oh, you should eat carbs. Okay, like what kind of carbs? How many carbs? How often should I eat carbs? And like
you eat a whole pizza before the race, right?
No, my
probably
gosh.
not, right? But after, maybe.
Well, I mean, so when I did my marathon, I did a whole pepperoni large pizza the night before. I ran really well.
But that's the thing is like individuality.
It's like run better.
I ran 8:30s for a marathon. I was fine with
you were
that.
fine. Yeah.
But it's like everybody's body handles things very differently, and knowing how to listen to your body and how to say, my body is saying
donut
this.
holes during the race, pigs in a blanket during the race.
I'm cringing over here.
You survived that.
You
did
survived.
good. You did
Yeah,
good.
you did well. 8:30 pace for marathon. I mean,
Just that's no joke.
That's no joke.
That's no joke.
I was running.
What
Running.
year was that?
2017? It was 17 or 16.
You did
16?
Louisiana?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did Louisiana and did the Baton Rouge Beach 3 weeks before.
Yeah.
I did 7:15 for that. That was a little better.
So, wow.
The whole marathon
Did you eat a
slowed me
pizza
down.
the night before?
No, I didn't eat a whole pizza.
See, maybe you could have run 17 at the marathon. No, I'm just joking.
So y'all are meeting kids where they're at, and y'all are meeting
We're meeting adults
parents where they're at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are y'all doing for the or adults? You don't have to have a kid to be a customer.
No.
true.
We have started with working with adults. So we have a handful of a lot of clients right now that are either between training for Ironman, training for their first, we just trained our first 75-year-old for his first triathlon, which was fantastic and so much fun.
And he told us that we couldn't give him speeds because moving was his only speed. Moving and not moving were his speeds. So to not put in any actual speeds to his workouts, those were the only two options available to him. And we were like, okay.
I was so excited when I saw him come through that finish line. I was like standing hugging him. I got in all of his pictures. Like there ended up being like a family photo, and it's like their whole family with him and like me.
And Nelly's like,
in the middle too, not like on the side. Like,
she was like arm around him.
It was. I was like, I'm so proud of you. No, so we meet people where they are, and whatever their goals are, we are a judgment-free, safe space. We want to be your friend. We want to be your, we want to guide you in the right direction. We want to get to know you. We want as many people's lives if we can change to be healthier and happier is kind of our goal. We're not in it we're in it to make people healthier and happier. Like really what we want to do. So we meet people where they are. We have people that we're sending them out for 20-minute walks a day and like just modifying their diet. We have people that we're restricting things in their diet because that works for them. So that does not work for some people. Mm-hmm. We have to we get to know our client, and it's a longer process than it would be just like finding a diet on the internet or like, doing a juice cleanse. It takes a little bit more time, but it's a lot more sustainable because we're able to give pointers and give the right direction for like, okay, we're going to do this, but we're not going to do it all at one time. We're going to take 6 months to get there so that when you're done, it's not
sustainable.
Yeah, your habit's been broken.
Yeah, it's not, sign up for the gym membership January 1 and then January 3rd, you're done.
Yeah. So we're trying to avoid that. And then I think even with our athletes, it's like the more we know them, we know what each one can handle and what is beneficial to them. So we had a conversation today about one of our athletes with a race that's this weekend. Her goal is like she's training for her first Ironman. So that's in July. And it was like, okay, the Louisiana Marathon is happening this weekend. Should she do the half or the quarter? And we had a strategic conversation about that. Because like distance wise, the half is great.
Yeah, she's ready for that.
But the weather could be warmer and like we want her confidence to be up. So we would rather her do a shorter distance and crush that than gamble with we don't know where the weather is going to be. And so we had a 30-minute talk about it and we decided we should suggest that she do that, and she agreed. But it wasn't like, oh, whatever you want. It's like we know her, we know what her goals are, and we kind of know what motivates her, and we try to make the best choice for her, not the best choice for us or the easy choice.
And there's some people that we go back and forth with. We help them. We're kind of just like a guide that like helps them make decisions. And there's some people who are like, I need you to make decisions for me. And it's like you're doing this. Okay, like,
and these are your paces.
Well, some people just don't want it. Their lives are so busy, they don't want to think about it. So like they need us to think about it for them. And so we sit down with every client we have. We sit down for a 45-minute initial session, whatever that is. And we ask that, we have a handful of questions that we ask them. And then we pivot and we learn and we go based off of each one. And it actually makes it more exciting because it's not like, okay, I'm giving you this PDF plan that I give the last person too, and I'm just changing it.
Yeah, it's all custom to the person.
Here's some bullet points that we just fill in your name, fill in your information, and then we spit it out with a computer system, and then this is your results.
And like this past November, we were able to go to Ironman Florida, which was like the only Ironman in the U.S. that happened last year, and 2 of our athletes were doing it. And they were, she's trained other Ironman athletes, but these were our first like basic athletes. And we were there, and like they wore their basic kits, and they got to cross the finish line almost together.
Yeah.
And they made like the wrap up video or whatever. And like as coaches, that was incredible to watch them because like the joy on their faces that whole day, and they were so proud of themselves. And like,
so proud.
We went down there and we cooked them dinner the night before and just kind of hung out with their families. And like Nelly, in situations like that, she's the X's and O coach, and I'm like the spiritual advisor, So we kind of tag team and send them like these long emails with like just knowing what each one needs and being able to craft like the right plan, the right message that shows them that like we're here with you, we're here for you, and we want you to succeed, and we absolutely believe in you because. A lot of times
we try not to put the pressure on of them that we're your coaches and we have expectations. Like we want you as much as you want to succeed. We want you to succeed.
And we know that you can.
We're not disappointed in people. We're not like heartbroken when they don't do something. Like we want to help your life get better.
And I think the benefit of us being athletes and endurance athletes is like we know what a great day feels like, and we know what the worst day in the world feels like, and we have been through all of them. And it's like, we feel you. We understand. We've been there, We had an athlete today email us and say he wants to take some time off. And we completely understood. It was like, hey, buddy, you've had a phenomenal year. Like, if you need a break, you need a break. Like, go do whatever it is that's next on your agenda and let us know if and when you come back. Like, we're here for you. Yeah. Because we've been there. We've taken, I just took up tennis. I'm like, I don't want to be an endurance athlete. I want to be a tennis player. And everyone's like, why? I was like, I don't know. It seems cool.
Seems like what tennis is the next thing, right?
Middle-aged moms do. You buy a white skirt and a tennis racket, right? And then you just swirl it around.
I don't know. All my friends back there were all 26 and we just started playing tennis. I'm just going to say.
So tennis is the new sport.
Tennis is the new thing.
It's like the middle part, tennis.
Yeah.
That's your kid.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I think we're just, whatever you can do to be outside that makes you happy and that makes you move is wherever you are in that moment. Right now, neither of us are training for Ironman, but I'm not going to say that'll never happen again. And I have the urge to run another marathon probably in this year. She doesn't. It's just.
We did run that one in 2020 in my neighborhood because our actual race got canceled.
Our actual race got canceled.
And what you shouldn't do is run a marathon in April in Louisiana. It was
in St. Francisville
with a lot of hills.
Yeah.
It was terrible. The whole neighborhood came out because somebody put it in the Facebook group. So our neighbors were coming out and spraying us with a hose and cheering for us. While they also were like, those poor souls. What are they doing?
Someone had a cowbell. I was like, could you please stop eating the cowbell?
It's like, don't go back down the cowbell right again. That was rough.
But y'all have built this community sense.
Yeah.
It's not just, hey, come out and run or hey, come out and condition. It's build a community, build a lifestyle.
Yeah. And we actually had we put on a little 5K in her neighborhood around Thanksgiving time.
How big is this neighborhood? A 5K and a marathon?
Well, no,
the name was a lot of laughs.
That was just us saying we said we were going to do this. We're doing this, and we just ran.
We had already trained.
I think we got up and started running at 5 a.m. because we knew it was going to be 95 degrees that day.
Yeah, and one of our good friends came and ran half of it with us, and then we had another friend.
We had a couple friends come and take turns, and other neighbors were just like, how many times are we going to go by? I was like, well, a lot more. It's not that big of a neighborhood.
At least 8 more.
Yeah. It's not that many streets out here.
No, but we put on this little 5K, and it was kind of fun because we had a bunch of people there that we didn't know that came to do a 5K, but it was fun to see all of the families and all of the friends that never had necessarily wanted to do a 5K, but they were just they've been watching us, they've been keeping up with what we've been doing over COVID, and they came out and did it, and it was
a lot of little kids did it their parents didn't know they liked to run or were good at it, and
some of them even placed the Jordan Piazzas. Yeah. No, it was a super fun.
It was a fun community event, and everyone in our neighborhood just loved it. They're like, "Can y'all do more of these?" And I was like, "Well, we left race production because we didn't love it."
Right.
So I don't know that this is the thing we're gonna do, but we'll do one a year or whatever.
Yeah, it was a good day for families to get out. There was a bunch of families that live in our neighborhood that brought their younger kids out and just did the 1 mile. And,
some of those kids were fast.
Yeah. Some of them were crying, but some of them were fast.
So you get all ends of the spectrum.
You got it all.
All ends, which is encouraging and further builds that community. Mm-hmm. When somebody sees somebody running a 12, 15, 20, 30-minute mile, and then they also see the people running the 4, 5, and 6-minute miles.
A mile's a mile.
A mile's a mile, and everybody's everywhere.
Yes. And I think something that so many people have as a misconception is if I don't run fast or I don't bike fast, I can't race. And I think that is ridiculous. But I think most people hear the word race and it's intimidating and they don't want to do it because they think they're not good enough until they realize that oh, well, you participate in these events and you go that slow? I'm like, yeah, I'm not winning, I'm not losing, I'm just middle grounding,
It's self. It's a self race. You're not racing anybody else but yourself.
And I think more and more people, I talked to one of my neighbors the other day and he kind of wants to get in triathlons, but he had no idea that there were shorter distance triathlons than an Ironman because he saw our 2 neighbors training for an Ironman. I was like, no, that's at the very far end of the spectrum.
You
can do a sprint tri.
Do the Yam City. It's 150 swim, 12-mile bike, and a 2-mile run.
Yam City doesn't exist anymore.
I don't think so.
Yam City's gone.
We could have.
But we did that.
We did that together.
Oh, did y'all together?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when they were confused that I had 2 last names, and I won a prize for that.
Oh my
for being the athlete with 2 last names.
Is that?
So she won a prize for 2 last names. My dad won a prize for the multiple discount sign up. Because there was 4 of us.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was my first try.
They said we didn't know it was built into the system. Yeah. But you figured it out. Because he had 3 sons and him did the race.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Yes, but racing has that community aspect of it. Triathlons are heavy community. I mean, it's more of a spectator sport than it is a participant sport.
And some of our greatest friends, we met through doing that.
Yeah.
We have a group of girls that we train with that we've all
Group
done
3 shout out.
Yeah, group 3. We've all done an Ironman. Well, not all of us. There's a lot of people in that group. A group of us did an Ironman in Chattanooga. A group of them right now are training to go and do an Ironman in Coeur d'Alene.
And that group is big enough. Like we started with three people. That's why it's called there's a whole other story why it's called Group 3. But anyway, it started with 3 people. And now we have over 100 members. And like everyone who's in the group has like their own like smaller tribe that they do races with and they train with and they push each other with. And like it's been phenomenal to see how many women have gotten into the sport. And that's why we started the group, was to get, once women got into the sport, they had lots of questions, you know, like what's the most comfortable seat? Like what kind of shorts do you wear? And like what kind of sports bra do you wear? Like that you wouldn't want to ask like the general public. And so this was a safe space for them to like train together and find friends and like find matching outfits, because that's a big part of it, if we're being honest. And
all about the outfit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you should see some of our. I mean, the picture that we used for today,
I've
custom.
seen.
Custom tank top.
Some people spend their money on X, Y, and Z. Custom outfits.
Yeah, I'm gonna look good. I'm not gonna be good.
Let's be honest. You're only as good as you look when you're racing.
This is true.
I mean, we even timed our like, this is how we're gonna go through the finish shoot. Like it was pretty spectacular. We did the dab at the end, where like I did the dab and Nelly did the smell of the armpit.
I like the smell of my armpit. It did not turn out well.
We can send a follow up photo.
Check back in the comments. It'll be there.
Everyone's like, Nelly, what are you doing? I was like, I'm dabbing. She's smelling her armpit.
She went too high on the dab.
Yeah, too high and too low with the head. The head was like, oh God. And even like Mike Riley like gave us a shout. He's like, oh, look at the girls dabbing. And I was like,
It's nice.
But I mean,
Those
that we
pictures
built
are not
a
on
huge.
Facebook, I don't think.
Yeah, they will be.
They need to be after this. They need to be.
But like it does build a sense of community, and it's so much more fun to do something with other people than it is to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
And like it just is. Like we've done that a lot of times. Like in the last race that we did, we were both having not stellar days, and like our only goal was to have fun and to race together. So like she had to wait for me on the bike because I was overheating and dying.
Yeah.
And on the run, she was overheating and dying. And so like we just tagged, because it was like, we're not here to win. We're not going to Kona. We're not going to the Olympics. Like, we're here to have fun. And it was probably the slowest we ever raced, but we had probably more fun than we've ever had.
Here to finish.
Don't go look up my Ironman Texas time.
But I mean, we had matching outfits and we went through the finish line together. And it was
That's all that matters. As long as you look good when you cross the line.
We had some great photos crossing that finish line.
And we had a lot of fun. It was way more fun doing it together. Because the first time we trained for a race together, we were on a bike ride and I had like, you know, sprint sessions. So I like take off my bike and I'm like, I didn't even know her that well. And I was like, where's that girl at? Like, oh my God, like she's terrible at riding a bicycle. And so I kept going and then I was like, man, I think I lost her. And then I waited for her and I was like, I didn't get into this to train hard. Like I got into this so that she wouldn't die, and she might way back there. So we started training together and she got way better at biking.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm not that bad of an athlete. She's making me sound.
This was your first time, and everyone's first time at trying to ride a bicycle.
This was even before Ironman. This was like, I was like, hey, I'm going to St. Francisville to ride. And she's like, I'll ride with you. And like, there she goes. And I was like, yeah, she's not riding with me. I was like, I don't know where that
y'all both riding.
Yeah, but like I had to teach her how to like do bike intervals, but she had to teach me how to do speed run intervals. So it was like a total trade-off. And then she just kills me in the pool every single time, so I just don't swim with her anymore.
Again, it's
because I have a lot of pride.
It's that ability, that yin and that yang that y'all work so well together.
Yin and yang, Nelly Nachos.
Talk trash.
We don't have time to get into all that slang. But y'all are coming up on a year in business, right?
Pretty much. I mean, we officially like launched the LLC and when was that?
We started selling T-shirts in April. So we really started doing everything in April. Our business was established as an LLC in August.
Okay.
Yeah, like from a tax standpoint, we'll go with August.
Yeah, I'm all about taxes, right? But no, so you're coming up on a year of being in business officially.
That's crazy.
Whatever. Yeah, I know. It went by fast.
So what... Y'all, I'm sure y'all have learned lessons over the course of the year.
Yeah.
So what are a couple of lessons from each of y'all that y'all have learned?
Patience is key.
With ourselves, with each other, with business, with everything.
With each other.
I mean, every now and then when you're like, try to tell me you can be better than me in tennis. And I'm like,
patience is key. Unrealistic expectations are kind of, as much as you try not to have them,
they're hard not
you
to.
do. And we've hit a lot of road bumps. But each road bump has been kind of answered and it's sent us down a different path that it actually has ended up being better. So I think that understanding that patience is key and understanding that things happen for a reason, because had you asked each of us in April of last year if this is where we'd be, absolutely not. And we'd both be scared to admit that this is where we are, I think. And it's been we sound all fun and like it's been dandelions, but it's been a hard year, and it's just you got to persevere. And
I
keep
think
going.
also just being open to whatever the journey presents itself as, and not being like, we're doing this, we're not doing that. It's like, we never thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay, like let us process that information and figure out if that's something we want to get into. And like one of our other like sayings is like one of our first T-shirts we made was like high hopes, no expectations, right? So like we kind
High
of
hopes,
joke.
no expectations.
Yeah.
High hopes,
So
no
like
expectations.
the backstory of that is we were in New York for a birthday party. And we were going out, and I was like, Nelly, our motto for the night is high hopes, no expectations. I mean, we hope we have all the fun in the world, but we're not going to expect to have fun.
And I was all like, I expect to have fun.
I was like, hang on, I'm having fun.
And I was like, if it's terrible, then we won't be disappointed. And she's like, that's a really good motto. I was like, right?
Yeah.
And so that just sort of became a thing that we'd always tell each other. And then we made T-shirts with that on it. And now, like, she's kind of the high hopes of everything, and I'm like the grounded, no expectations of everything. So she gets really excited about something, and I'm like, no expectations. She's like, high hopes, and I'm like, no expectations.
But it's also been fun. Like, yes, no expectations, but just believing in yourself and believing in each other. Because I mean, there's been times where we put our trust. I put my trust in her. I put my trust in myself. And it's just kind of understanding that balance and knowing like we ended up as business partners for a reason and
knowing if we're both willing to take the risk, it's worth taking. And I
Yeah.
think there's also been so many reminders where we're like, oh God, is this really what we're doing? This is a little scary. Where someone else reminds us that we're on the right path. Like last week, I was having a bit of a rough week for whatever reason. And one of our baseball players, this is the beginning of his baseball season. So we drove over there and like gave him a note that we had handwritten in a sticker or whatever. And his mom made a post on Facebook. And like what she said, like it just hit me in the heart. And it was like, you know what, like, this is my why. Like, this is why I'm doing this. I'm never going to be a millionaire. I'm never going to make a ton of money doing this. But like, if I can change people's lives, then it's worth doing. It's worth getting up for. It's worth staying late for. And it's worth sometimes being stressed out for because like, it's been fun. And so I think there's been a lot of reminders like that when one of us gets a little like,
yeah,
it's like, no.
We both have, thankfully we haven't both been on that wave at the same time. So like we can be able to calm each other down. But it's just, there's anxieties with all of this and,
and taking big risks. But sometimes you realize that like sometimes they're worth taking because like you don't want to get to be 90 and be like, what if we had done that thing? And it's like, well, we did it and either it worked or it didn't, but at least we will know.
Yeah.
At least you're sitting there saying, oh, wow, this worked really well. Or, oh, wow, that was terrible. Remember that year span?
And we can laugh about it. Like,
it was terrible.
Remember we thought that was a good idea. It wasn't. But we don't, you don't know until you try. And I think so many people in life aren't brave enough to try. And I think that's what kind of motivates us is like this next project that we've mentioned that we're working on. It's like a really, 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 really big step. And it's like we got to the edge of the cliff and it was time to jump off. And it was like,
she was about not to jump. And I was like, I'm pulling with me.
I'm jumping in, and we're tied together.
It's like,
we're tied together.
If we've made it this far and like all signs, I mean, we've vetted the idea with a lot of people and nobody was like, yeah, I don't think so. Like, go get your dream job at the library. That's a whole other story. But, and I was like, okay, well, all signs are go. So on the count of 3, we're just going to hold our nose and go all the way down.
All the way down.
And see where... So that's what we started this week. Is kicked off the big project this morning. So
hey, I love it.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll see what
tuned,
happens.
yeah.
I mean, because that's the conversation around the power of one, the power of impacting one person's life with your business.
That's all that
makes it all
matters.
worth it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to
Absolutely.
impact 1 million people. If you can impact one person, change one person's life,
It's totally worth it.
it's worth it.
It's totally worth it.
And that needs to that conversation, I feel, needs to be at the forefront of almost every business. If we can impact one person, it's worth it. We did something.
And
if
like-
we impacting for the better, we did something right.
And that's your why. It's like that's why you show up and you put in the extra hours.
100%.
Like in the fall, the kid that we kind of reference all the time, he's like the kid we sort of started all of this for, because we just really liked this kid and want his life to be fantastic. They played fall baseball and they let him pitch for the first time. And like the old coach just let him play right field. He'd play right field and then sit out an inning, then play right field. And that's hard. Like, I mean, he's not my kid, but like you could see his love of the game it just was bad. And it was really hard to watch. And so in a tournament, they let him pitch. And so, I'm like all excited. And like he struck a kid out. And I don't know who cried harder, me or his mom. Like, and I'm not his mom. So like I'm trying to hide because it's kind of embarrassing, but I'm like crying behind the dugout because like, I'm not going to say that we had a big impact on his life, but just seeing who he was and what he was able to do in that day because a few other people and like, his new coaches believe in him too. And like those people are making an impact. And so it's like the power of positivity is so strong. And like with COVID, it was the time for people to just really amplify that because we were so like dying with all the negative stuff.
Yeah, and I think as much as COVID has been awful and terrible, I think there was a blessing in disguise for us, especially with work-wise. It gave us a chance to like pause and say, okay,
what else could we do? Because we were just sort of burn ourselves out and never had time to stop and say, hey, I'm struggling. And so when COVID happened, it was a time to stop back and say, okay, am I going to keep going on this path? Should I pick a new path? Like, what's the right choice for me? And as a mom, I couldn't stay on that path anymore. It was taking up too much of my time, too much of my weekends, and my kids were growing up before my eyes. And it was having a very negative impact on their health, just from mom being gone all the time. And mom also, when she's home, being super stressed all the time. And so it was a good time to say, I got to make a change. So
and that's COVID opened that door for a lot of people. Is, hey, you're stuck at home, whether you like it or not. You're at home, you can't go to work. You're either with your significant other or you're by yourself. And if you ever wanted to change anything about your life,
now's the time.
Now it's still the time. It's like there's never been the best day to go and start a business was 10 years ago. The second best day is today. It's like if you want to do it, just go do it.
And
don't think about it and say, oh, let me wait for 10, 12 weeks.
Or when the moment's right, because the moment's never right.
The moment's right when you make it
right.
right. It's right when you make it right. And by taking that first step, you're making that moment right. So starting to wind down the show. What is something that you did as a kid you wish you could still do today had no one stopped you?
Oh, I know my answer.
Oh, you go first, because I have no idea.
Well, actually, no. Let me think on that.
Oh no, we want that answer. That initial answer. We want that answer.
So for my 5th grade talent show.
Yes.
I nailed pogo sticking with a basketball. So I could dribble.
Wait. You could dribble and jump on the pogo stick?
Yeah, I could do it for 600 times.
600 times?
600 times.
Did they count it? Like with a clicker?
I did. 1, 2, 3. That's what I used to do.
Tell how the story ends where the talent show guys were like, okay, that's enough now. And you're like, no, I'm not done yet.
I'm not at 1,000. Let me keep going.
We went to Camp Highlander. So my 5th grade class trip, we went to Camp Highlander. And they had a talent show. And I packed my pogo stick in my basketball.
No clothes, just a parents.
I have the greatest parents in the world because they never told me, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that.
Also, I can't imagine the sound of you practicing. Like, there's nothing worse than the sound of a basketball and a pogo stick.
They made me drinking wine. I was like, hey, watch this.
Watch, no hands, 2 balls.
Because, she gave my kids pogo sticks for Christmas. And I was like, you have to wait till the neighbors are awake, so no pogo sticking at the bus stop, kids.
My 3 friends, they told me, they asked me if I wanted to be in a dance with them. And I was like, I have a talent that I'm going to do. And so that's what I did. And they were like, okay, that's enough. Good job.
I love the passion behind pogo sticking with a basketball.
No, that's one of my answers. I wish I still pogo sticked well. But I think that...
Do you still have your pogo stick?
It's never too late.
You can pick it back up.
I have 2. You can borrow one.
That's my...
Side note, they brought you one. We're taking a picture with it.
Yeah.
And basketball.
What else? I think that's my only regret as a child.
Is stopping pogo sticking?
Well, the good news is
you can pick it back up.
I wish that I would have. I wish I would have had someone that guided me with the nutrition stuff that I now know. And that's kind of my main drive for wanting to do with kids. I wish that someone would have maybe told me to stop eating the French fries. No one told me to stop. So I think pogo sticking and French fries are my 2 regrets.
I think mine is when I was in the 3rd grade, I quit dancing because like my child had anxiety, and I was afraid that my brothers played sports at school and my dancing was like across town, and I was convinced that because I was the only girl that they were going to leave me at dance class. So I quit and I joined the sports teams. I started playing basketball because that's where my brothers were, and clearly they wouldn't leave me there.
That's right.
And I love playing sports though. Like I played basketball my whole life. I still love playing basketball, but I still love dancing, and I kind of wish that I stuck with that a little more, but anxiety, whatever.
That's a way better answer than mine.
No, I love the pogo sticking one. I love the pogo sticking. We're gonna clip that. That's gonna be the short video. Is the pogo sticking
Here's
story.
The outtakes. And I think the second thing is what she said about nutrition is like being an athlete in high school. I played pretty much whatever sport was in season, because my parents were like, you can get a job or you can play sports. And I was like, well, I'm going to learn how to play some sports. Give me a glove or whatever it is. And I didn't understand enough about nutrition, and I ended up having an eating disorder. And so trying to be a top level athlete on 500 calories a day was probably not a recipe for success. And I wish that someone had sat me down and explained to me the fuel of it, and like that I think would have helped me A, be a better athlete, and B, kick an eating disorder way earlier than I did.
She needed to eat more food. I needed to eat less food.
Yeah. Again, all this yin and yang going together. You'll make the perfect team.
There are like so many kids out there who also struggle with those things.
Yeah.
It's like, if someone had told me that, or someone had told you that, and it's like the things that you wish you would have known, like if we can go and tell kids that now, like we gave a lecture to some girls from, was it Our Lady of Mercy recently?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And just kind of talk to them about choosing happiness in life, and like the fact that it's not conditional on when you're taller or thinner or smarter or prettier, or you get a better pair of shoes or a better outfit. Like happiness is available to you every day when you wake up if you choose that choice and you define what makes you happy. And obviously there's a lot of outside constraints that play on that, but that stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop looking to make your life measurable by other things. Like, you are who you are, and God made you this way for a reason, and celebrate every moment of that. And like, if more young kids knew that, think how much happier adults would be. Like if we could learn that lesson at 12 instead of at 40,
Yeah.
I think that's just something that, again, that's one of our other missions, is just teaching people to accept who and what you are and never apologize for it. Like we have another saying, unapologetically awesome. Like you're awesome as you are, and don't apologize for it. And embrace
Even
it.
if you pogo stick with basketball.
You're still
She was living that way back in the 5th grade.
That's right. She's been bred this pogo stick is awesome.
She's been unapologetically awesome since the 5th grade.
It's great.
I love it. So what is something y'all love about Baton Rouge or Louisiana?
Oh man, Baton Rouge, as much as, as much as we are not a healthy state, Louisiana is not known.
What are you talking about?
Not known for its active lifestyle, but I think between, we have a community here that I've loved, and between our friends that we started triathloning with, having the marathon here, Jenny Peters at Varsity Sports, like I think the community that Baton Rouge has, that it's small and we want it to get bigger. And like, that's what Basic is here to kind of help it get bigger and start kids at a young age, but realizing that, there's so much you can do just in your own backyard. And we have a strong community here, which most people probably don't even realize. But the city itself, I go to the farmer's market every weekend, and, I see someone that I know from Jenny Peters' run group. And it's just, I think that's what I love about Baton Rouge. I also love that it is as big as it is small. And it's,
biggest little town there is.
Biggest little town there is, which can be a blessing, a cursing and a blessing all at the same time.
That's a fact.
I think one of the best things about Louisiana is its unique culture. Like it has so many very interesting cultures. And if health and fitness could sort of jump into that a little.
Make part of the culture.
If we could add that to it, where we do still enjoy all the food and the culinary things that we do, and all the other, because we love sports. I mean, we watch so many sports, and if we could get people to just play some more sports, and be a little bit more active, then I think it becomes more well-rounded. And I think like when you talk to people about the things they love, and say, I was at baseball one day and we're all watching kids practice and catch pop flies. And I was like, okay, but like, why aren't we doing that? Because it's really fun trying to catch a pop fly. And it's like, just 20 parents. We're just sitting around watching our kids doing nothing, like playing on our phones. Like we could all bring gloves and bats, and like if someone can hit balls, we can catch pop flies for hours, and we're getting exercise and we're having fun, because as adults, adults don't do that. We don't behave that way.
You kind of think
anymore.
Time's up, and it's not.
And it's not. And I think it's like, if your kids are being active, you can be active with them or at the same time as them. And like, that's how I started playing tennis. It's like me and some moms were like, the tennis courts are right there. The baseball fields are right there. The kids are practicing for 2 hours. I got a racket. You got a racket? Okay, who knows the rules? Yeah. Somebody Google the rules.
We'll make a game.
Let's play some tennis.
I love it. So for the final question of the show is, what can I do to help you?
Get the word out about
you can amplify the awesomeness of Basic
Amplify the
Fitness.
awesomeness. We, I'll quick synopsis. We do, endurance training, youth training for fitness-wise. We do nutrition coaching. She kind of does more of the lifestyle coaching if you need that. I'm not as motivating. I'm like, it's fine.
I'm also old and wise.
Yeah, she's older and wiser.
That's what it is. Maybe you should give a motivating speech on a pogo stick with a basketball.
I could probably do it. I've pogo sticked with basketball for her kids.
They were impressed.
They were impressed.
And they're not impressed by much, so that's saying something. It's true. It's very true.
I was like, y'all watch me. And they watched me.
And then you're like, okay, Aunt Nelly.
all right, fine. 750, we're done.
And it's cool. They're so over me. I'm like, I talk to them about eating healthy all the time. And then one day I showed up with pogo sticks, and they were like, "Oh, you are pretty cool." I'm like, "Mm-hmm." No, not really. Yeah. What was the question again?
How can you help us?
How can I help?
Sorry. I think just, spreading the word. Anybody that needs a lifestyle change, anyone you know in your life that could use some help, because you love them and you want them to live a long, healthy, and happy life, send them our names.
Yeah. And thanks for having us on the show. This was helpful.
Yeah, this is helpful.
Absolutely.
Also,
I'm
we do
glad
love
y'all
talking
came.
about ourselves. So, I mean,
This is true.
anytime.
Ask us more.
I have more stories.
Yes. Well, we could go on for hours,
But we
I'm
won't.
Sure, but we won't. So we'll thank you all so very much for coming on the show.
No, thanks for
I really
having us.
appreciate it.
having us.
I'm glad we were able to make this happen. I think Jennifer and I got this on the books back in like December.
Yeah,
I think y'all
family
did.
Christmas party. Yeah.
Christmas party, we got it on the books.
I was like, you're booked up till March.
I told you Patty G's big.
I know. I Googled it.
wow, Googled it, man. Well, thank you all for coming on, taking the time out of your day. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks for having
it.
us. Thanks for listening
Yeah.
to us ramble about all things health and wellness.
Oh, it was incredible.
Nice.
It was an amazing show. I loved it.
New sport.
That's it. New sport.
Hey.
And, thank everybody else for watching or listening or whatever way you're consuming this. We really appreciate it, and the guests really appreciate it as well. So we've got Jennifer and Nelly from Basic Fitness. They are the latest episode of the Patty G Show. Thank you all so very much, and have a good night. And as always, remember the show is brought to you by Alvarez Construction. Thank you all.